So, good afternoon and welcome to London to all three of you. What has it been like for you this weekend, seeing the massive support that you get for your characters and for Game of Thrones?
I don't think I've ever experienced or even heard of a television show that has attracted such an amazing group of passionate people. The people who live, eat and breathe Westeros, and so do I. I'm a huge fan of the show. I absolutely love it, but to meet people, to have that reflected back to you, to get feedback from the fans about, how you did. There's nothing like it in the world, and I'm so incredibly touched every time I come to an event like this and I meet all you guys. It just makes my whole month. It's just absolutely fantastic. So please know that you're really, really doing some good to us.
No, you really are, guys. You're I have lost my voice. I've been loving talking to you guys so much. I sound a significantly deeper voice than I normally do when I come to these things because I've been talking all day and I've been loving every minute of it. So all the fans, when you come to these things, you're deeply loved by all of us because it's such a pleasure. We take such pleasure in seeing how the results come across. So thank you all very much indeed.
You make it very easy for us because you're all so nice, you don't really want to sort of like bump into somebody and say, see that show you did, that was crap, and we've done a lot of that. We've met that in our time, but especially back home, because back home they call it spade a spade. But honestly, it's just great to be in something where you know that fans love it, and you know that if you're lucky enough to meet them, they're going to tell you that. And it makes you feel good. It's a very feel-good sort of environment to be in, so we're very blessed and thank you for that.
So, we're going to open the floor up to questions straight away. So if you have a question, stick your hand up and I will bring the microphone to you and you can ask away. Go for it. You're very shy, but for all of you, go down the front. Yep, I can make it down there. We are.
Hi guys, you're all amazing. You are, oh my god. So my question is for Sir Lannister. So,
that's brother Lancel.
Very true, valid point. So, all of you guys played your roles amazingly, and as Lancel, this past season you terrified us, in a certain ways, very effectively. So kudos to you, it's amazing. Can you give us hints of his trajectory going forward? And I also have a question about, the reason he joined the Sparrows. Is it really because he's so ashamed of everything he's done, and the absolute shame of it has sort of embarrassed and ashamed him into joining them. So please comment.
I think one of the things you have to try to visualize very strongly with Lancel, which is not referred to in the show, is the fact that try to visualize a boy who is on a deathbed, somewhere locked away in the Red Keep. No one really has looked after him. Kevan Lannister, his father, certainly isn't there. He's probably got a maid with a bucket that comes every so often to kind of dab a wound on his, I can't remember what side it is now, so I get so in the zone, but a wound on his shoulder, which is now gruesomely infected. In the show, we were never actually really given the extent to which this prosthetic was really extraordinarily infected. We painted on bursted blood vessels from where he would have had to have been repeatedly sterilized with a hot poker. So if you can visualize the emotional agony of being locked away after the Battle of Blackwater and having no one look after him except occasionally have someone come in and just sting him for hours and hours in order to try to save his life. That for me was really where I created that. I imagined it in order to try to really understand the extent of his suffering. Secondly, on top of that, it would have been much more helpful had Lancel felt there was someone there for him, a father, maybe an ex-lover like Cersei, perhaps even a family member, even if it was Tyrion. But no one was, because they're all so busy doing their own small-minded political thing. And for him, that whole empire, that whole concept, the idea of having such little emotional depth to you, for the sake of just holding on to power, was, soul-destroying, literally soul-destroying. But then you get this figure of the High Sparrow walk into your life. And the great thing about the High Sparrow, played by a brilliantly wonderful actor like Jonathan Pryce, is that He is wonderful. He is absolutely. He's absolutely wonderful at convincing you of having a moderate look, a moderate attitude to really the authoritarian system in Seven Kingdoms. He says it himself. I really don't think you quite understand this, Queen of Thorns. I serve the gods. That's it. That's all I'm about. And the gods demand justice. So Lancel has now got this figure who is perfect for him, perfect, because he gives him everything that he needs, absolutely everything that he needs in order to stop being in pain. So his religion is his anesthetic, and the pain that he causes to others, for him, he views it as kind of, none of you fully understand who you really are until you've experienced the pain that I've experienced. Anything that I do to you which is negative is necessary, because ultimately you will all see the gods. That's why Cersei is so... Anyway, I've digressed. The point is, the storyline was wonderful for me. I absolutely loved it. And to go from that compared to seasons 1 and 2 was a blessing. It was great. I don't know if I've quite answered your question, but I hope I have.
I think you answered everybody else's.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, guys,
I'm going to go now. See you then.
And we're in the middle, sort of in the right here. The outright lady.
Hi. Hello. The question's for all of you. If you could play any other character in the show, because there's so many great ones, which one would you choose?
I would love to try and play Theon Greyjoy. I think he's a great character. Why? I don't know.
Where do you start, when you finish? You know, I mean, I've said before, and you probably heard me say before, but then that's not really possible.
No, it is.
Actually, I wouldn't mind Bronn. Bronn's a good character, you know. I've enjoyed too old. Oh, old, right? You're one to be talking, I have to say, but it's good. I've enjoyed playing Sir Barristan, but I wouldn't mind being a bit of a, don't mess with me kind of like dodgier character. Bronn's that kind of don't mess with me dodgier character, So that would have been fun.
I think, when I answered this question yesterday, when I first auditioned for the show in season 1, you get to read for several characters. And the character I auditioned for was Jory Cassell, Ned Stark's right-hand man. Obviously didn't get it. Jamie Seaves did get it and was absolutely perfect. That's Jory Cassell, perfect. The casting, I think, in Game of Thrones is so fantastic that I couldn't imagine myself playing any other character, because that person playing that character is perfect for it. I was just glad I got into it, to be honest with you. I was just so chuffed and so privileged to be a part of this series. I'll go to my grave with Game of Thrones tattooed on it. It has been wonderful, so I was more than happy to play Sir Meryn. Delighted, in fact.
And a question from a lady here.
Hi, so all of you are absolutely brilliant actors, and hopefully when I leave school and I finish education, I hopefully want to go into acting. And I was just curious as to how you three got into acting. Did you go to a school, or did you just jump into it?
Well, it's very different for everybody, and there's no obvious templates. And also, generation is very difficult. I mean, very different, Rob. When I went into acting, which is now a long time ago, I actually it was theatre that captivated me. I didn't have a clue how you got into film or television. But I grew up sort of liking theatre. I liked the idea of being on stage. I did plays when I was a student and all that kind of thing. So I just wanted to go into theatre. By accident, rather than by design, I did end up in a drama school in America. Frankly, and this is not to disrespect the school, it didn't do me any favours, because to be honest, the whole difficulty with getting into this business is how do you get in? It's not actually did you train and where did you train. I mean, I think if you train, you learn certain skills which can be useful to you. But you can also, an awful lot of training nowadays still, and rather surprisingly, is very geared toward theatre training. And theatre training can sometimes mean that you just end up doing stuff that's a bit too big for TV. And also, the schools, in the main, one or two are different, but in the main they haven't got their heads around acting for camera specifically and focusing on that. And the big issue at the end of the day is, how do you get an agent? How do you get put in front of people? How do you get sort of seen for show? And producers, some care, but an awful lot of producers, they don't really care if you've been to drama school or not. They care if you're right for the purpose for which they need you. But the big advantage, I think, of drama school is actually not so much the process that you go through at drama school, but the process at the end of it. And that is, you get a showcase.
Yeah.
And you get out there and, you know, at the end of your drama school training, you get this chance to be put in front of agents, and agents, you know, somebody hopefully will come up and say, I like the look of you, would you like to join our agency? And away you go from there. If I'm honest, and the guys may well disagree with me, I'm a bit sceptical sometimes about, you know, the values of drama school, especially when you consider what it costs, because it's expensive. More expensive even than university, and the university's expensive enough.
Colin Farrell, who I worked with many years ago, left drama school after about 3 months because he basically said, I didn't go there to have someone tell me I'm crap. I first got bitten by the acting bug when I was 7. A friend of my father's owned a circus that toured around Northern Ireland, and I toured around with it every summer. I was the only boy that didn't have to run away to the circus. I was brought every week.
You would have been so good at the circus.
I really was. I was in with the monkeys. But I agree totally with you. I did 5 years in law at Queen's, but I was always going to be an actor. And then I went and did a postgraduate degree at Lambda. I personally didn't enjoy it. I personally didn't find much use with it, and I was very much a television and film actor. That's what I saw myself as. I have done theatre, but I love film and television. Drama college is, however, it's the end of the process. It is getting the agent, because that is what you need to get. And in that sense, going to drama college would be useful. I will give you one piece of advice as an actress, or as a hopefully burgeoning actress. Always believe in yourself, because you will hear no more times than you ever want to hear it. And it could be for 1,000 reasons. You're too young, too old, you're too this, you're too that, you're not tall enough, you're not blonde, you're not brunette. Whatever it is that gives the answer no, do not for a second let it affect you. Always believe in yourself.
I would give my contribution to this fairly brief. I didn't go to drama school, and actually, rather, as Ian McElhinney says, you do get the occasional person who goes, particularly I find in Los Angeles, so where did you train? And you go, well, I didn't train, and they go, and somehow for them that's even more interesting, because you've got into the room sort of not necessarily off the back of a conventional means. I would say, as a young actress, that a very good bit of advice is to try to start in whatever capacity you can, whether it's through theatre or friends who want to do short films with you. Is that start asking your friends to experiment with doing little bits of film, short film, maybe your own little bits of work. Because what it does with you is it gives you the ability to first of all understand the technical issues with working on a camera that you don't necessarily get from being in drama. In fact, I'm going to be fair enough to say you don't really get in drama school, which is knowing where the camera is, understanding whether or not the light is hitting you, trying to get a better understanding of what frame they're on, and also your friends are willing to do it with you too. So in some ways, give your friends the opportunity to work with you. I mean, it really is very, very open to you. Now, I'm sure you know someone who likes to work with a camera. Writing a little story and then working on it does so much good for you, and it does work towards you creating a show reel, which if you give to the right people over the course of time is helpful. People are still always looking for young up-and-coming talent. So that would be my suggestion.
And also, to emphasise that point, we are now entering a technological era that 10 years ago, 15 years ago simply wasn't here. We are now in the digital age. We are in the social media age. The world is your oyster. And you're young enough to understand all of it. So you'll be able to take advantage of that. Use those platforms. I mean, everybody can. My goodness, you can make a movie on your iPhone now. So, don't stop practicing, because it will give you the opportunity to see what you look like on screen, to see what you're doing right in front of the camera, to see what you're doing wrong in front of the camera. And you become your own teacher. And we are now entering an age, a technological age, that I think is so exciting. It's so exciting, I think we're entering a golden age of television right now. And I think Game of Thrones has set a benchmark on that. I really do. And I'm so excited about the future and about the technological future that we are coming into now. So the world is your oyster, and you use those platforms. Use them, because they will teach you and they will help you. They will help you get better.
And we have a question on the left at the front.
We like to keep our answers very short up here.
Hi. With all of the theories about, everything to do with Game of Thrones, do you have a particular favourite one that you find interesting?
The scenes.
Theories.
Theories. There is one that I got the other day, which really interested me, and I'm thinking out loud, which is very dangerous because I can't actually remember what it is. So help me. It was to do with Jon Snow's mother. And I know that Dan and David, when they first met, George sat down and he said to them very, whimsically, "So who do you think the mother is?" And I don't know what they said, but there was a theory. What have you guys heard? Because I don't want to spoil the theory. Has anyone here got a theory as to who Jon Snow's mother is?
Everybody here has got a theory as to who Jon.
Yell something out to me. Tell me.
What's L equals J?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Fair enough.
Does anybody think it's Cersei, by the way? I had a fan, I swear to God, I had a fan come up to me about a month ago and says, "It's Cersei." And I was like, "What?" Wow. My favourite theory, I have to say, playing Meryn Trant, my favourite theory was all the fans who felt Cyril Farrell was still alive.
Yeah.
Because I knew he wasn't. I'm sorry, guys. Anybody out there that's still, I'm sorry, he's as dead as yesterday's fish. I knew he wasn't. I mean, I actually asked the question. I said, "We don't see him die. Is he still alive?" And somebody who would have known the answer said, "No, he's not." If he had been still alive and he had taken the persona of Meryn, you would have found out at the end of last season. So I think that theory has once and for all been put to bed.
What about you? Theories? I don't really have any theories at the moment. I do. Yeah. I have a theory about the end. That is, I mean, there are certain people you might like to see on the throne. There's one or two who I would sort of like to say, well, they deserve or they're legitimate and all that kind of thing. But I think we've got to the stage where it's rumbled on so long, and no matter who you put on the throne, some one of you will say, "Why did they put that person on the throne? It makes no sense. They don't deserve to be there." I think for that reason, they'll probably just blow the whole thing up. I think the series will end with a kind of a nuclear holocaust.
And we've got a question in the middle.
Hi, I just wanted to know what your favourite costume to wear was, and if you could have someone else's costume, who would you choose?
When he tells the story about his armour, it makes me laugh so much. Sorry, carry on.
In season 1, the Kingsguard armour was made of composite plastic that was painted, and we had cloth underneath. Season 2, the leather came in. Season 3, brass. But I was absolutely certain that Michelle Clapton was trying to kill me. I was absolutely certain of it. Our wonderful, incredible costume designer. By season 5, my entire costume was 28 kilos. Okay? Now, everybody, for all you guys out there that think Nikolai Coster-Waldau is a real butch guy, he couldn't wait to get it off between takes. Every single take he was taking it off, and you'll see there was when the Mountain and the Viper are fighting, he's not wearing his Kingsguard outfit because he's a complete wuss. Okay? You heard it here first. I finally worked out that Michelle Clapton wasn't actually trying to kill me, she was trying to kill Nikolai. And I was just collateral damage. But the thing about, as uncomfortable as that costume was, I absolutely loved wearing it because it looked fantastic. And every single costume you see in Game of Thrones, sometimes you don't even see just how detailed it is. But when you put that suit of, when I put that suit of armour on, suddenly I was the Kingsguard. It made such a difference to the character I was playing. It helped more than I can possibly say. And it was the same with the sets, everything, the attention to detail, the production values, I believe, are second to none in this show. And you were walking in to the throne room in King's Landing. It was just remarkable. So yeah, my favourite costume was the Kingsguard outfit. And of course, the first time I take it off, look what happens to me.
He's just drenched in sweat, the poor guy. But Ian is such a happy guy, he just goes, hiya. Absolutely just covered in sweat, the poor guy. I've worn 5 costumes over the course of my few seasons. I have worn Lancel Squire, which was, I really wouldn't think it, the cape and the leather metal-studded Kevlar which he wears was really, really heavy. And back then, I was skinny as hell, so to me, I was like, to be out of it, I was so relieved. The cape gets filled with water, so you're getting sort of dragged behind as I was following Robert Baratheon and trying to, desperately refill his wine so that I could kill him and keep shagging the Queen. So that was very, very heavy. As you did. And which was good. And then the next season, I ended up having this very Jamie-esque kind of leather jacket and looking very kind of, ooh la la, kind of, which was then added onto by having all of the Lannister armour for the Battle of Blackwater, which I ended up being covered in blood for, and the blood is like jam when they put it on you, the fake blood. So basically, just before you're about to go into battle, you're like, all right, guys, rolling. And then you just run into battle. When I put on the Sparrow outfit for the first 3 episodes of season 5, I was like, bliss. I mean, really, I really think it helped me so much with the character, because when I came back and was confronting Cersei for the first time, telling her that, I've seen the light. I was so happy because I was so breezed, and I was just like, I could dance around. And then finally it came to Faith Militant, and it's a small thing, but that material is so hot whenever you end up being put in the heat of the sun, as I was recently, and the chains that go across me are real solid iron chains, and I tell you, they really do dig into your shoulders after a few hours, and they're stitched to me, so I can't get out of there. So it's been a pretty intense few years for my costume department. It's been fun.
At least you've had 5 costumes. I only had 2. And I used to get really miffed, because every time Daenerys turned up, admittedly it was nearly always blue, but she was in yet another form of blue. And I was stuck with just this one basic, several layers of it, admittedly, leather, which was kind of nice and sort of butch, but very hot and very uncomfortable when you're in the heat of the day, especially when we filmed in Morocco and we were walking through sand and stuff. That was a tiresome costume. So I think of my costumes, I probably prefer the first one that I had, but I loved the armour. I absolutely hated that bloody skirt, because it was full of brass leaves, and it was, as Ian says, it was very heavy. And it used to kind of just pull everything down into the ground. And by the end of the day, your feet were aching, simply because you had so much weight going down into the ground. Some of you, most of you probably won't remember this, but some of you may remember years ago there was an advert for Tootle Man. They made shirts and ties. And they had this, it used to be a big advert in Billboard. Do you remember Tootle Man? See, I'm so old.
No, you're so old.
Yeah,
I don't remember Queen Victoria either.
They had pictures of Tootle Man on these big billboards, and he was wearing a shirt and a tie, no trousers, and socks and shoes. And the ad was, if only we did trousers. Well, I think, ideally, my favourite costume is a Tootleman costume. It's a half costume. I would like to wear the armour to the waist. What happens below is in the hand of God.
I have to say, those wee triangular metal almost like dragon scales that Ian was talking about that made up the lower half of the armour really did make bathroom breaks very interesting.
And we're at the back on the right.
If all the Game of Thrones characters had a free-for-all Hunger Games style battle, who would win and why?
A free-for-all what, sorry?
Battle.
A Hunger Games
Hunger Games
style.
battle.
Oh, a Hunger Games battle. Oh, God. That'd be hilarious.
You've got this sort of like, imagine the people out the mountain or
Khal Drogo.
would probably have the edge, wouldn't you?
No.
I'd like to think I can do a bit of trouble, but I don't know if I can go the whole 9 yards.
I was interested to see how Jorah Mormont fought at the arena, where he let all the other people fight each other first. I mean, tactically it would be very, very interesting. If everybody was still alive and there was a free-for-all battle, I don't know. I think either the Viper or Braun.
No. I think Oberyn Martell would wipe the floor with most of them. I think that spear, as he's proven with the mountain, he was a bit clumsy with the mountain, wasn't he? I mean, you don't go near an animal that size, even when it's down. You just don't. So he really got what he deserved when he had his head imploded onto the ground. But
It's a bit harsh.
I've got to be. This is a Hunger Games battle. We've got to be harsh. I think he would probably win, definitely. But Bronn is actually. I loved all the fight scenes that Bronn does. Jerome does a great job as that character, and then the fight scenes that he does are just so menacing because the character has fun when he's doing it. You know, he's kind of enjoying it, which is a great thing to see happen.
We have a question from a lady here.
Hello. Because there's so many locations, do you as a whole cast ever get a chance to actually see the other people very often?
See the other
people on the
Well, like,
location.
'cause John's halfway across the world and you're in this sunny place with the Targaryens.
No, I mean, that's the weird thing, you know, people say to you, what's it like to work with X? And you end up saying, look, not only have I not worked with X, I've never even met X.
I've never met most of my
I mean, I've actually probably met more than most in that in season 1 I did work with in one court, which was Baratheon's court. So I met people obviously who were working in that. And then in those days we were working a lot in Belfast and various casts would be crossing over, so you might at least have met each other in passing. But once we ended up, you know, in Croatia or in Morocco, I mean, we were our own little unit, and there weren't that many of us.
And then people would be flying in and flying out, so you miss somebody by a day.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's amazing when you think that, you know, in every year there's 300 of cast or thereabouts. It's amazing to think that, you know, you probably only work with about 10% of that number.
I was a little bit luckier because, you know, 5 seasons in King's Landing and then, of course, going over to Bravo. So I worked with more than most. But I didn't meet Kit Harington or John Bradley until halfway through season 5. I met them in a restaurant in Belfast. And that's where I met them for the first time. And that is not remarkable in Game of Thrones because there are so many different strands, so many different storylines. There are people, literally, that you will never meet, let alone work with. And that is perhaps one of the few regrets I have about Game of Thrones because there were so many fantastic actors and actresses who I would love to have worked with, but just didn't get a scene with them. Just wasn't in that storyline or wasn't in that place at that time. And that's how big it is. You have a cast of, what, 60, 70 people in any one season, and they're the sort of, you know, principal members, and then there's another 20 or 30 coming in for maybe one scene or one episode. It's huge. It's
so true. I mean, in the first season, I mean, Ian Marcaddy and Nikolai Coster-Waldau were probably the first guys I met when I did the show because I did the wine serving scene first. So, I mean, I haven't seen those guys for I haven't really seen any of those characters for the rest of the show since. I hung out with Kit Harington, Alfie Allen, Joseph Alton, John Bradley. I was really a Night's Watch guy off set for the whole of my first couple of seasons because whenever I did my stuff with Peter Dinklage or with Lena Headey, they would have to go shoot off and, you know, we'd have to go in different directions. So it was really only lived on set. And I mean, just this season, or rather, I say season 5, when I saw Lena again, we had a chance to hang out. And I was like, so who are you? What do you do? And I actually, started to be able to talk to the cousin who I'd been, supposed to have an affair with for the first 2 seasons. Because it's really quick and it's really on and off. I went out for a Halloween party with these guys for season 1. And then suddenly I thought, right, great, I'm so glad we worked it. Oh, bye now. And I didn't see them sort of again offset for a while. So it's so random, it really is.
That is one of the fascinating things about sort of sex scenes. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know where yours came in your sequence, but it's not uncommon. Oh, how you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, you're in bed doing the sex scene. How did that happen? You just
It really is. It really, like, Nina, so nice to meet you. Oh, is this your mother? Oh, great. Seriously.
There is a theory, actually. I think in the main, they actually like to get the sex scenes out of the way early, when you don't know each other, because it's almost easier. It's like somebody you've never met, and you can get on with it. Whereas if you I don't know.
Sounds like my life for the first 20 years.
I'm dredging this up from the depths of my memory. But anyway, if you think about it, if you've been working together for ages and you've got to know the person, you get on quite well, and you know, oh my God, we've got to do that scene or the scene somewhere down the line, they start to loom large and larger and larger, and they get harder and harder and harder to confront. Whereas if you get them out of the way early, it's like, oh, thank God that's done, we can just get on with the job now, you know what I mean? So
at the start of every season, just talking about sex scenes, my wife would always say, especially after the first season when we realised how hot Game of Thrones could get, she said, what are you doing this year? It's alright, babe, I'm just killing people, it's absolutely fine. Season 5 comes along, Sir Meryn goes to the brothel. He gets offered 3 supermodels and he turns them down for the 10-year-old. You have never seen acting like that in your life. I'm sitting there, these gorgeous looking women pretending not to be interested in them. So yeah, I'm talking about sex scenes. That was good acting.
And we have time for one final question from this lady.
Hi, I've heard a couple now, but I was just wondering what the biggest challenge is or has been in playing your characters.
Sorry, I think what's
the biggest challenge is being played at Trant?
Well, my challenge, I felt very, very, I believe very strongly was the first day that I came back to set as Lancel the Sparrow. I tell you why it was so difficult to sort of really kind of to do it was because the first scene where Lancel comes back and talks to Cersei, the whole message he's really giving her was one of genuine feeling of kind of trying to inspire her, trying to come back and go, I mean, with hand in his heart almost, I have seen the light. It's glorious. You have no idea how much euphoria is waiting for you when you find the gods. It will sort everything out. It sort of links back to what I said about his suffering. Everything will be sorted by just believing, which is a terrifying concept. So when he sees her and says this to her, there's almost a feeling that this guy could be pacifist. He's dressed as though he's a monk. It's he's really a wolf in sheep's clothing going, join us and you will see just how good it gets once you come into this side of the world. And I was really, actually, I knew the story because I'd read the scripts before I did that scene, but to not believe that he was a calm, put-together guy was quite difficult. But actually, he's terrified. He's absolutely terrified, Lancel. Underneath this facade of calm, tranquility, is this boiling cauldron of total and utter terror. And it's the basis of his violence, really. So to come back and try to actually get your head around the fact that you're not really actually that calm, and he's disconnected, but only because he's really getting ready to truly break down and be totally under the thumb of the will of the Sparrow. that was quite difficult to understand how someone could go through a trauma so bad that is their raison d'etre. So that was the biggest psychological struggle for me to overcome, and only once I had realised that was I able to kind of actually do it justice, because at first I just thought, go in there and just Terminator it, just, you know, bring it in, just Terminator it, make it robotic, and then we worked on it and it got better, I think.
For me, there's simply no question, the scenes in episodes 9 and 10 of season 5. For the first 4 seasons, I mean, I honestly thought that Sir Meryn was just a thug, a bully, and ultimately a coward who wasn't really fit to be Kingsguard. Finding out in season 5 that he was a monster as well was... Because David and Dan, when they called me to say, Meryn Morgullis, kiddo, they said, you get to see a really nasty side of Sir Meryn and you got a great death. That's what they said. So I thought nasty side, I'm going to get to kill somebody popular or something. Then I got the script and it was like, oh God. I mean, if it had been me, I have children, I would have taken a week to kill Meryn Trant. I wouldn't have killed him as quickly as Arya did. I would have started with, all right, which toe do you want? Doesn't matter which one you choose, they're all coming off. But emotionally, technically, physically, in all sorts of ways, they were the most difficult scenes I've ever done in front of a camera in my life, and probably will be the most difficult scenes I will ever do. To convince the audience that this character enjoyed doing this was something, you know, when you're a father, they were awful. They were horrible scenes. I mean, let me be perfectly honest with you, they were absolutely awful to do. And you couldn't stay in character. You know, there were children on set, child actors, wonderful child actors, a freak in episode 9, and Hattie, Isabel and Bella in episode 10. And they made the scenes. Their reactions, I mean, a freak in episode 9, that wee look to the Madame of the brothel, that wee look of complete bewilderment before I take her away, was, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And then the 3 girls in episode 10, whenever I'm beating them, now I promise you the bamboo rod didn't touch them once. Their parents were there at all times, because a Game of Thrones set is a very protected set. And you couldn't stay in character, you'd come out and you'd break. But every so often I'd go to the bathroom and I'd burst into tears. And, you know, they'd get so happy and they'd go back to it again. Without a shadow of a doubt, they were awful things. They were absolutely awful to do. And having said that, nonetheless, they were a challenge that any actor would kill for. To have a scene like that, to have the challenge of pulling off a scene like that and getting it right is what an actor lives and dies for. So, as awful as they were, I was very grateful for them.
All right, this is all getting a bit too intense. So, at the risk of being a bit facetious, my biggest challenge was getting the right footwear. That bloody skirt again, that bloody skirt wears the top. And in season 1, I had boots, which looked great, but they were a bit tight in the fit. But the real problem was they had no proper support, no ankle support. And
I feel thoroughly put in out place.
When you spend all day standing around those bloody boots, you know about it, and it does start to irritate you. Your feet are comfortable, the world's your oyster. Your feet are uncomfortable, you got problems. So, at least that's me. So, in this scene, the one where I throw the sword at Joffrey, which I'm not doing, by the way. I loved it when I was standing saying, there you little shit, take that. I loved that. But at the end of saying that, I had to turn around and walk. And the bastards made me do the whole long journey. It was like the length of this room.
Yeah, it's huge.
I had to turn and walk all the way through, out the doors. And you know, I hadn't said, by the way, my feet hurt in these boots, I'm terribly sorry. So whether I liked it or not, I had to plough along. And you know, it's typical of film. We'll do 1 take, we'll do 2 takes, we'll do 10 takes. So every bloody time. And I'm thinking, is there any chance, because I got onions, I got corns, I got chilblains, so that was a challenge. And I'll tell you the other challenge, and I guess it's a bit of, are you physically coordinated or are you not? I don't know if you'll ever have to do this, but stabbing a scorpion is not as straightforward as it looks. We had this little gizmo.
Killed you, honestly.
We had this little gizmo to represent the scorpion, and I'm lying down, and I'm supposed to stab it like that. It's simple, you would think. So they take the scorpion out of the way, and there's a little X. Stab. I mean, it's like, trying to hit the dartboard. Stab again, stab. Did I hit that bloody thing? I was going all the way right. Eventually, I have to admit this, I think they got a stunt hand. So, our challenges are very dramatic, very emotional, very everyday and commonplace, but there you go.
I would say that the funniest moment I ever had on set, just very, very briefly, we were filming the scene where we come into Bravos on the rowing boat. And very early in the scene, I got David Nutter, the director, and I called him over and I said, David, there's 5 seats on that boat. And he said, yes. And I said, there's 6 of us. He said, yes. I said, where am I going? He said, you're going to be standing in the back of the boat. I'm going to be standing at the back of the boat in 30 feet of water with 28 kilos of armour on. I get the feeling someone's trying to tell you something. So, we got through it. It was real fun when the oarsman caught a crab, and my heart actually stopped for 25 seconds, but we made it to shore. It was a very, very long day on the jetty. I'm at 28 kilos. I'm not taking it off because it only hurts more when you put it back on again, so that's fine. So we get to the last take of the day. Everything's great. Last take of the day. And we're on the jetty, and I'm in the armour, and I've lost about half a stone by this stage. I'm absolutely shattered. I'm half a foot shorter because the armour's just doing this. And someone gave Roger Ashton Griffiths, who plays Mace Tyrell, a chocolate cornetto. And he ate the chocolate cornetto the way my 9-year-old ate a chocolate cornetto when he was 1. He couldn't have got more chocolate ice cream on his face if he'd got that. And it took us 20 minutes to clean him up. So absolutely dying.
That was quite nice, actually.
That was lovely. That was lovely chocolate cornetto. I really liked that. It was lovely.
I might go and have another one.
What was that? It was lovely.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all we've got time for. Please give it up for Ian McElhinney. And that is